On Wednesday, Governor Charlie Baker announced Massachusetts schools will not resume class until May 4th. With the stay-at-home order, many are wondering how the state will proceed with business, from elections to the budget to helping people who are out of work. State Representative Angelo Puppolo of the 12th Hamden District spoke with Carolee McGrath recently to discuss some of these questions.
Tell me a little bit about the emails that you've been sending out to your constituents. You've been sending out some updates.
Yeah, I've sent out 4 in total so far. Response has been really good. They get a lot of feedback, a lot of questions on it, in terms of what's the next step. And, especially the last email that I sent out relative to the governor's, order of closing businesses, till April 7th and changing the amount of people that can gather down to 10, like the national level. So a lot of people have some questions on it. Is my business covered? Is it not? And even going back to the original emails, where I kept everybody updated relative to the $15 million that we originally put in the budget relative to, the public health response in terms of getting money into the local public, health organizations and, community, based cities and towns, to be able to get that money to the front line. And then, the unemployment waiver, just different updates. And I think that's important. I've been getting a lot of positive feedback. People say they appreciate it, and a lot of back and forth emails. And it's not only a way to keep people informed, but also keep people engaged and really communicating. Frankly, a lot of seniors have gotten back to me, and they appreciate the information because we've been emailing back and forth, and I even check on them. So I do send out the blast emails relative to everybody on my constituent list, and that we have an email list. And also I send out individual emails checking up on people and following up on questions that they may have.
So tell me a little bit about the governor issuing the stay-at-home advisory. I think a lot of people were expecting, as different states were shutting down, New York, for example, like what is next in Massachusetts? Now that you have the stay-at-home advisory, what makes it different than, say, New York?
Well, I mean, it's not a shelter-in-place order, so it's a little more loose than that in terms of what people can and can't do. So basically, it's an advisory, for businesses. It outlines what's an essential business and what can remain open and what shouldn't be open in terms of having public traffic, and basically just outlines what till April 7th. A little cooling off period, so it's a couple weeks. I think it's a good order. It's not as sort of drastic or draconian, if you will, as some of them, make sure people shelter in place, like some of the other cities and states have done. I think it's a pragmatic approach, and it's letting business, that needs to be, that's essential. It needs to be, up and running, but also protects the public. So there's a lot of places that have to close, that can no longer remain open. Some people have been emailing me that they want to try to maybe get themselves on the exemption list. There is a link that allows the business or business owner to try to petition the governor or the administration to make a case that maybe their business or their workers are essential, and they're going to review that. But I think this is it's a broader policy. It's a safe policy. And I think it's going to work.
And people can still go outside, walk with their family, take a run. I think that's a big concern that people had, was that, just being able, especially with kids home, being able to let them have that experience of getting fresh air.
Yeah, I mean, so it's not a shelter in place, so people can go out. They can go for walks. They can go out for walks in the park. They can go on their street. Matter of fact, even before this order, and we plan to continue it. My family and I went out to Peak Mountain up in Munson the other day, and we climbed to the summit. It was a nice little walk. There was a number of people out there, but everybody was friendly. But we remained 6 feet apart when people crossed on the path. They're wide enough. If you've been up there, it's a pretty wide area. There was a lot of cars in the parking lot, but that area is so vast that people are spread out. So this encourages that. It doesn't stop it. But the governor is, and we are, explicit about saying, look, no basketball games, right? No touch football games. None of this stuff where there's going to be a lot of close contact. That's pretty lined out in the order. So it's outlined in the order to say, look, yes, you can go out and run and go out and do some individual sports, walking, hiking, and so on. But you're definitely discouraged from doing any type of team sports such as basketball. And the governor even mentions it in the in the order.
You had mentioned the $15 million that was passed 2 weeks ago by the legislature. What other measures are you taking up, especially as we look at the impact this is going to have or is having right now on the economy?
Yes, so I mean, there's a number of bills that that we're looking at. The $15 million was actually the first bill that we passed to get money in the front line for the the public health organizations and cities and towns. We've also passed legislation. So many people have been laid off and displaced from work. We've passed legislation to waive the waiting period so people don't have to wait to get their unemployment benefits. There are been inundations, if you will, in terms of what these agencies have to deal with. So there is some issue there, but there is no mandatory waiting period. We've removed that. We're working on a number of other things. We've got some first responder frontline legislation, to protect the people that are out there working, our, first responders, police, fire, EMT, medical professionals. So we're trying to work, on that line to be able to say, look, if someone comes down to get sick, there's going to be a presumption that, it's COVID-19 and it's part of their job duty. So we're trying to, streamline, if you will, that process in the unfortunate situation that somebody, as a first responder, gets ill. So we're looking at that. We're on conference calls. We get leadership calls, on a regular basis. Me, being part of the leadership team as well. We've got different segments working on a lot of different things. The governor's office has been very engaged. We've been, on conference calls with the secretaries, with a number of other public health officials on a regular basis, getting updates as well as input. What's going on in the communities? What are we dealing with? How can we get that information, to them, and how are they getting the information to us so that I can disseminate it again through my emails in different ways. Just yesterday, we actually passed legislation to extend allow cities and towns to extend any local elections that may take effect. We've given them a postponement to the end of June, so they can deal with this. If we have to revisit it, hopefully we won't. We will, but we've alleviated or at least taken some of the stress off the local elections. There was also a couple special elections coming up at the end of March, relative to the House of Representatives as well as the Senate to fill some vacancies that are there. We've extended those out. Again, we want to preserve the sanctity, if you will, of elections, but we also want to make sure that we have to protect people's public health and safety while still allowing them the opportunity to vote. We're looking at a number of other measures, expanding the absentee ballot access, so older and other seniors and different people that, feel that they don't want to come out when they can come out. We'll be able to do some absentee ballot voting. We're looking at expanding that. We're going to keep early voting on open and early as much as we can. And we're also looking at, some of the signature nomination, issues relative to, to people that are out there gathering signatures, at this time, because there are deadlines moving forward. I know some of the U.S. Senate candidates have been concerned about that. So we're looking at all types of aspects on that. But the big thing, hovering over all of us, certainly is the budget. We're on, some conference calls, and we're getting communications back and forth with the House Ways and Means. And, we've got, a lot of issues. Normally the House, we do our budget towards the end of April. That's basically in the Constitution. That's when we start the process. The House does ours, the state budget, and at the end of April, the Senate comes back about, the third or so, fourth week in May. We put together a conference report, and we try to have something in place by June 30th because our fiscal year starts July 1st. But, the Ways and Means Chairman concerned, we're in flux, relative to the revenues coming in, relative to some of the issues that, we have to face in terms of filling a budget, filling areas that we have to. Putting extra money in like we just did the $15 million, for public safety, and that is only going to be the beginning. So we've got a lot of other areas that we need to work on, and this is so fluid that it may be somewhat of a first time in history that there might be a delay in the budget. We're not there yet, but again, it's something that we're thinking about because here we are. We're already almost towards the end of March, and we've got some serious issues that still are not resolved. So we don't know where this is going to go. We hope it's going to end soon. But, again, just looking at some of the revenues, even some of the things you may not think about. I was at a conference call with some of the DOT people and, worried about some of the toll loss, a significant amount of toll loss because nobody's traveling on the turnpikes. And, so we're losing that kind of revenue, and that's not only obviously a concern here, but it's a concern across the country when, you have revenues of people going on the highways as well as bridges and tunnels and tolls and such. And so we're definitely got to figure all that into the equation.
Will there be any consideration of voting remotely?
We've talked about that, but I don't think we're on that. I mean, you're talking elections or
even in the State
officials.
House, if you're looking at the budget.
Our rules do not allow that. We can go in and change them, obviously, but we have to physically be there and vote, to press the button. Now, there's a lot of times when there's voice votes and the yeas and nays can be called, and it might not be an issue, but there's some a number of constitutional issues, including the budget, that basically need to be voted on, if you will, by a roll call, and that means someone has to press, that person has to press their button. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Nobody can press a button for somebody else, and you have to be there to vote in person. So that's an issue. We're looking at that. Can that be resolved? It's possible. Again, we're under a public health crisis. The governor's changed even some of the meeting laws in terms of what constitutes a quorum and how you can be remotely participating in a meeting. So that has been changed. So we are not at that point yet. Hopefully we won't be. I mean, hopefully we can get back to some semblance of normality and get back to the State House as soon as we possibly can and start working full force. Again, we're still doing a lot of stuff. Like I said, yesterday we passed legislation relative to the elections. We're still looking at a lot of different things and things that we can get passed, in informal sessions. We are doing and getting it done. So we're not at a point where we're concerned about coming in. I think physically, although there's all these edicts and orders, but I think what we really need to do is get a grasp on some of these numbers, because even if we go in, we still don't even have a handle on where the situation is.